Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where each day we explore how technology and indeed innovation are helping to reshape our increasingly digital world. And a very big special thank you to Tucker LVR, who left a review of this podcast on Apple Podcasts, where he said, Neil Hughes is always witty, well, am I really? And covers worthwhile topics. He recently listened to the most recent podcast with Bram Cohen, who invented the BitTorrent protocol. Bram is now at Cheer, a new cryptocurrency company. And he goes on to say, this is a great podcast and an informative, comprehensible deep dive into how cryptocurrencies work. That was on the US Apple Podcast Store. So a big thank you, Tucker LVR, wherever you are. If you are listening on a mobile device, if you could just take a sneaky quick look, go to rating and review and leave a rating or review on the podcast. But on with today's show. As you all know, I love showcasing real-world examples of how tech can transform lives, businesses, and indeed entire industries. But imagine if you find yourself with a killer idea, what would you do next? And how would you get that idea scribbled on the back of a napkin and take that idea and transform it into a product? Well, on today's podcast chat, we're going to tackle that very subject head on with Zack Leonard, and he's the president and founder of Gembah. And at Gembah, they turn your idea into a fully fledged design. And Gembah product designers can then take an idea as simple as that napkin scrawl or just a glimmer of a concept and produce multiple designs for you to review. And even if you don't have an original idea, you could spot a trendy product in the market and make something even better or leap ahead of your competitors. There's so many possibilities, and for these reasons alone, I'm quite excited to get him on the show and find out more. Because I know each and every one of you listening to this podcast in over 165 different countries, you all have one thing in common. You have ideas up your virtual sleeves. And I want to take you on a journey all the way to Texas so we can speak with Zack Leonard, president and founder of Gembah. So massive warm welcome to the show, Zack. Can you tell the listeners a little more about who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. So my name is Zack Leonard. I'm here in Austin, Texas, where my company Gembah is headquartered, and I'm the founder and president of Gembah.
Excellent. So the question everyone's probably asking now, of course, is, so what is Gembah and what problems do you solve and what makes you unique from all those other solutions out there?
Absolutely. So Gembah is a product innovation platform where we help businesses, big or small, entrepreneurs really create awesome new products from start to finish. So we help, with the product innovation side of creative and research. So we have a team of engineers and designers that do all the product development side of things. And then we have a team in China that helps all of the manufacturing side of things. So from start to finish, you can make awesome products that can be sold either on your, e-commerce platform or on Amazon or on, in retail to your customers.
So I've got to ask, what's the story behind Gembah and what put you on this journey?
Yeah. So originally it was built as a transparency, supply chain transparency service where there was an issue a few years ago when we started to create this company of Alibaba did a great job of bringing the suppliers in China to the forefront, but there's still an issue with being able to get a transparent view into what they're actually doing. And so the thought was that you could have a resource that's trusted, that uses a vetted team over in China that can go to the factory and really manage the relationship for you. And that did well, but we kept on getting questions about, can you help more upstream with, product development and research? And so we added that to the service offering, and it's really helped, small businesses and entrepreneurs get products out really fast. And so our goal is to help really that crowd, which is a large segment of commerce, to be able to create awesome new products in a really short amount of time. So what Zara and H&M did for fast fashion, Gembah is trying to do for product. We're trying to become fast product where you can have an idea, come to our platform and get something made within 3 to 6 months.
And what about the name Gembah? There's got to be a story behind that, hasn't there?
Yeah. So Gembah in Kaizen manufacturing theory is, the place where value is created on the manufacturing floor. So that's what it's loosely based off of. And from us, we really take that to heart, because in the business sense, there's really only two ways you can create value. One is either adding revenue, which we do through product design and innovation, or you can cut your costs, which is what we do from the supply chain optimization side of our business. So really, Gembah truly is the place where value is created, because we're doing that for all of our customers.
I love that. And can I also ask you just tell me a little bit more about how you're changing the game for FBA sellers who actually just want to make their own products and build valuable brands?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a lot of FBA sellers who are customers. Some are, 6-figure, 7-figure sellers, and some are the ones that are buying those 6 and 7-figure sellers to become that, entity that rolls up into. And what we're doing for them is really becoming their product innovation and supply chain engine for them. So, they'll come to us with a catalog of SKUs that they might already have and say, hey, I have this, this product or 7 products or 10 products that, I found my supplier on Alibaba, or, maybe I met a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy in China or Vietnam, et cetera. And I'm not sure if I'm getting the best pricing, or I have quality issues. And so that's kind of the first step for us, is to really get an evaluation and see if maybe you have a better opportunity to get, better quality or better pricing, or just a better control of your supply chain through our team and our network, which is now over 500 different factories. So that's kind of step one in the process for us to understand like where you currently are, how your products are performing from a quality perspective, and are you getting the best pricing. Step two is through the product innovation side of things, where let's say you have a catalog of SKUs, and each SKU has a lifetime value, where after a couple of years maybe you need to iterate and make something new or add to your catalog to diversify. And so they'll come to us and say, hey, I have an existing product that I need to further enhance and make another iteration out of, or I want to get into a completely new catalog or new category, and they'll come to us and say, can you create something that's different from what's already out there, but maybe a slight variation of what we currently have, or a slight variation of something that they've done some research on and see is performing well. So they'll come to us, and we then take it from there. We'll go through product development phase, where we'll give them some sketches, iterating on their current products or some new products, and then go through to the full renderings of the product in 3D, and then ultimately come up with the collateral that you need, which is the 2D CAD drawings and the bill of materials, and maybe a tech pack if you're going more in the cut and sew area or arena, to really make you look like a professional to the factories when you start that bidding process. Again, a lot of these sellers aren't as sophisticated or as knowledgeable of how to really negotiate and talk to the manufacturers and make sure you look like a professional. And so at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is put you in that category where you can actually have a intelligent conversation and look like you know what you're doing, as opposed to going to Alibaba or your existing supplier and say, well, I want to make XYZ changes, and they know you're kind of one leg behind them in terms of the negotiation table.
And we're going to have people listening to our conversation today in over 165 different countries, and they're going to be from a variety of backgrounds and cultures. But the one thing that everybody listening is going to have in common is they're going to have amazing ideas, but then they just convince themselves they can't turn it into a reality and just give up and let that idea go. So if we do have someone listening that wants to create their own product, or simply has an idea and doesn't know what to do next, can you offer any tips on how to create new products that don't even exist yet?
Absolutely. I think the best thing you can do is start to have a conversation with either an industrial designer or a mechanical engineer, someone who actually has made a product before, and just see if you can get those ideas flushed out on paper. Sketching is really, really cheap. You can get sketches made for a few $100. And then the next step after that is just go get some validation, right? You want to go to your friends, your network, or maybe some people that you trust, and put those sketches in front of them and say, hey, is this a good idea? What changes would you make? Is it the coloring? Is it just the functionality? Is it something like that? And really build traction. There's cool ways you can do stuff now with Kickstarter and Indiegogo, where you can potentially just take a 3D rendering, put it on there, and see if you have some traction. So there's ways to really validate that. On top of that, if you're really more sophisticated, You can do some research with tools like Helium-10 and Jungle Scout to really identify opportunities in the market or keywords or categories that are performing well. And then you can start looking at, reviews of products that are already out there, or, again, start looking at ways you can iterate on existing products that, start to give you ideas of how can I innovate? How can I make something that's new? How can I put something awesome out in the market? So that's kind of step one in the process. And that's something that we handle. But, if you wanted to do it on your own, that would be my suggestion and my tips as a good starting place.
And I would suspect that you've seen quite a few designs rustled up on the back of a napkin over your time. So are there any pointers around product innovation that you could possibly share with us today as well, just to get people on the right track?
Absolutely. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I have seen a ton of those sketches on either the back of a napkin or, on a piece of paper that, they end up being awesome. They end up being high selling products, and that's kind of how the process starts. But in terms of, what you can do out there is you got to find someone who has made a product before, because you can have the best and most intricate design in the world, right? But the key is, can it be made at a mass scale? Can a manufacturer actually make your product? And so the more you innovate and the more crazy you get from an idea perspective, or the more the angles and the dimensions get a little out there in terms of the design, the harder it's going to be for you to actually make that product. It's going to take a lot longer to do so. So it really depends on your goals as a company. If you're trying to, be that category killer, are you trying to spend 6 to 12 months in the product innovation side? Or are you more on the Amazon FBA side, where it's, I'm just trying to make the next product and get it out there as fast as I can, because I know there's a huge opportunity. So if you're going, the first route, which is, I'm trying to create something crazy and something that's really, has a ton of utility and has never been seen before, it might make sense for you to have a good team of engineers and designers, as opposed to just, one and doing it yourself. That'll expedite the process a little bit more, and then start having a conversation with manufacturers early in the game so they understand, to kind of do that in tandem and save a lot of time. Because obviously getting things to market, it's all about riding the trend and understanding, the time it takes to get into that new category. If you're going the route of Amazon, you're going to want to make sure that, again, you're not making something that's crazy, but you're slightly iterating on something that's already out there. So in that case, getting maybe a color variation change or a slight modification to existing product, it should not take you more than a couple months to actually innovate on that one. So again, it just depends on what your goals are in terms of getting a product out, how much time you want to spend on it. But they're very, inexpensive ways for you to really get an awesome product out in the market.
And for any people, or indeed businesses and brands, or people behind those businesses and brands that are listening and they're exploring overseas production, could you possibly tell me a little bit more about how your team of local experts can actually help them construct their global supply chain with the emphasis on cost savings? Because there's such a big focus on that at the moment.
Yeah, I think the key words that you're talking about there is local, right? Yeah. So having someone who's actually in the market and understands the culture is a huge benefit, especially when you go to the negotiation table. China, for example, there's this whole culture called guangxi, which is, the business culture in China, and their values are just more centered around the relationship, like actually showing your face, actually having, deep conversations about food and culture and family. Like that is what they value more so than just the business side of things. And so, at the end of the day, it's dollars and cents, but having those factory dinners, like, bringing presents, talking about your experiences, really developing the relationship is really important. And so part of what we do is help bridge the gap. As an American company in America in general, the culture is a little bit more, business first and then, maybe pleasure after. But in China, it just doesn't work like that. So what we do is try and help you bridge that gap in terms of the business culture. So that's kind of first step is really making sure that we can add that value to our customers, because they're physically not in China 9 times out of 10. The next part of it, from a business sense and cost savings, is taking a look at your supply chain and really evaluating, are you getting and scrutinizing your bill of materials and saying, are you getting the best price for each component that is going into your final product? There's really 3 different types of factories. There's raw material factories, individual component factories, and assembly factories. And for, companies that have the smaller minimum order quantities, they're most likely going to assembly factory that's going to take all of the different components that go into your final product, probably bid them out themselves, and mark them up in a certain degree, whether it's 5%, 10%, 20%, whatever it is. That's just the cost of them doing business. But as you scale and as you get larger into order quantities and purchase order size, you really need to start looking at your bill of materials and scrutinizing it a little bit more. So what we help do is take an evaluation of each component that goes into your final bill of materials and say, hey, are they charging you the right amount? Is this assembly factory really giving you the best deal? And so we can evaluate that for you. And so we kind of break down each individual component, look into our supplier network and say, let's just say it's a zipper for a bag. Are you getting the best price on the zippers that you're getting, right? And so we can immediately knock off some costs there if we think that there's some cost to be had and saved on that side of things. And then it's really, as you continue to scale, are you in the best factory for you, as opposed to, lead times and, ultimately getting it to the port and all the shipping and logistics that goes into it. So really what we're doing is just taking a scrutinization of the bill of materials and the lead times and the logistics and saying, are you really just getting the best value for what you're doing?
And for someone that's enjoying so many conversations in this space, whether it be at conference dinners or seeing those designs on napkins, I'm curious, if you put all those conversations together, are there any trends around the kind of problems that your audiences are coming to you and asking for your help with?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So a lot of it is just how do I get a lot of it is centered around how do I get the next best product out there? How do I do a bunch of research? And I think the trend is really just being able to do evaluation of, are you able to capitalize, and is there an opportunity where you can get a healthy margin on a product that may already be out there in the market, or maybe something that isn't out there yet, but you can see that there's analysis and rigor behind the decision that you would to put that product out there. So that's primarily what our focus has been over the last 6 months, is just helping customers ride those trends, get new products out there, and really, scrutinize their bill of materials to make sure that they're getting the best pricing.
And speaking of trends, of course, we're reaching that time of the year where everyone's looking to the following year, 2020, a new era of possibility and big focus on different areas. What's hot in 2020? We've all seen those lists, but what's going to be your primary focus for Gembah in the next 18 months or so?
Yeah, that's a great question as well. So we're right now developing our technology side of our business. So it really started off as a service, obviously, but now we're focused on getting our MVP of our technology out, which will help manage all of these, napkin sketches and communication with the factory into one centralized place. And that should be launched here in Q4, which we're really excited about. And so really, it's just going to be about scaling the business with the technology in mind, so that we, become a managed technology service, kind of like an Upwork meets Slack, where you can have great conversations with, vetted designers, vetted suppliers, and vetted quality control agents that can help you really get products out there really fast and with high quality, and keep that defect rate really low.
And for anyone listening that's intrigued by the conversation we've had today, maybe awoken their curiosity and they're left with a few more questions, what's the best way they can find you guys online and contact your team?
Yeah, so you can go to www.gembah.com. There's a form on there you can fill out, and once you fill out that form, one person on my team will definitely be in touch with you to talk about your next great idea, or how we can help manage your supply chain and get some better cost savings for you.
Fantastic. I love everything that you're doing here, and also just enabling anybody that's got an idea for a product to get it out there and get it out there fast. It really is fantastic. So a big thank you for taking the time to come and share that with me today. Thanks again, Zack.
Thanks, Neil. Appreciate you having me on the show.
So do you have an idea? Have you been struggling to take that idea further, or just get some kind of prototype together that you can then get on Indiegogo or Kickstarter? Or are you a business and brand just looking to lower the costs? They do say that everything is being simplified in the world now, and friction points are being removed. And what I love about Gembah is they're doing just that. Have it made. It is that simple. And I love how Gembah handle design, pre-production, sourcing, logistics for both people, entrepreneurs, companies and brands who simply want to build better products. And they do that by taking that bird's eye view of your operation and strive to create efficiencies, cost savings and transparency all the way through the supply chain and, of course, using technology. So I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Please email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, tweet me at Neil C. Hughes, or pop by my website, techblogwriter.co.uk. I've just had an invite to go to the WCIT conference in Armenia next week, where I think we've got Richard Quest from CNN, Gary Vaynerchuk, and even Kim Kardashian. And what I'm particularly excited about is Serge Tankian, who, of course, is from System of a Down. And me just saying those words, I can't tell you how hard it is to stop myself singing Aerials or Chop Suey, but I'm going to spare you that and walk off into the sunset. So a big thank you for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger. Aerials in the sky.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.